Driven Golf Podcast. I am here with the super producer, Joseph K. What's going on, Joseph?
Hey Jim, what's going on?
How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
We are streaming live on Twitter and YouTube. This is episode 24. Not only were you the super producer, this past week we spent time in Minnesota. You were the super looper at the U.S. Amateur at Hazeltine National, so a really good week. Just wanted to give a shout out to Jose de Ballester. Did you watch the finals and the TV coverage?
I did, yeah. I was able to catch the final 18 holes of it. Um, those guys were battling out there. I mean, after playing that many matches and that many rounds of golf, they still played some good golf. So it was fun to watch. You know, that's the highest level of amateur golf you're going to see. Two of the best players doing it. So
Yeah, I mean Jose is top 10 amateur in the world, definitely a deserving champion. Noah Kent a little bit under the radar, but definitely busted through. There were a lot of upsets of top amateurs in the early rounds, and some that didn't even make it to match play. But all in all, obviously a deserving champion. Hazeltine, a championship course for sure. And we'll talk about a little bit more after we record this little intro about some of our experiences this week. So I look forward to get into that. Um, but definitely a shout out to Ballester and everyone who even qualified and participated. It's truly the Super Bowl of amateur golf.
yeah, it was awesome. I don't know if you also caught the tail end of the Epson tour this weekend, but we had one of our own on there, Kate Smith Stroh, firing off a early 63 and then finishing with the fourth place. So what'd you think about that? I know we were exchanging texts back and forth.
Yeah, I mean really awesome to see Kate. We obviously been pulling for her since we had her on. She's great. Really trying to get that LPGA Tour card, and also she has this thriving business with Shane Bacon with the logos. So that was a really fun episode we did with her, and we've obviously been rooting for her. Yeah, to shoot a 63, I think a career round. She was the leader after round one, but ended up at 17 under. It's really, really pretty impressive. So hopefully onward and upward for her. To get in the top 15 in points in the Epson Tour season.
Yeah, for sure. 17 under in 3 rounds, Jim, too. So that's taking it low.
I've got no concept for that, but on this theme of high level amateur golf, professional golf, we have our first college coach as a podcast guest, Bill Alcorn, who is the head coach at TCU here in Texas. Spend some time with Andrew. They go way back, so they definitely have this great chemistry and this great back and forth. But Bill's in his second year, about to start his second year at TCU. He played at Baylor. He was an assistant at Oklahoma, and I can tell you, in just interactions that I've had with other coaches and other junior golf parents, the name Bill Alcorn comes up time and time again in terms of great guys, great coaches, great future. The TCU program is definitely going places. It was a fantastic hire, and I think that shines through in this episode. Did you have any takeaways from that?
Yeah, I did. I think you hit the nail on the head there. He's a genuine dude. He wants to see all of his players succeed, and he doesn't want you to do anything crazy. I mean, he talks about recruiting you for a reason, and just be yourself, and you don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. And I think he kind of motivated me to kind of look into myself too, and see that just play your game, and that's the way to the success. So he's got a lot of good insight, and I think it's a great episode.
Do you have any eligibility left? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think I might, but I don't think that I don't think a Big 12 school would benefit from my 84s and 85s.
Yeah, I will say. I mean, I didn't plan on talking about my golf game, but as I think we've been moved and inspired by these guests that we've had on here, and obviously these conversations with Andrew on Angle of Attack they're sort of geared towards junior golfers, their parents, but you can't help but be impacted by these conversations, right? So I have basically decided, like, any day that I'm home, I'm going to do something that's going to hopefully lead me to be a better golfer. So I'm sort of on day 2 of this journey, So spent some time on doing some swing speed on day one and some ball striking. Did a TrackMan combine, and yesterday we actually spent time doing form work on a putting green, which is completely foreign to me. But in any case, so after we get off tonight, I'll have to continue that streak. But in any case, you know, this episode, this angle of attack in this episode with Bill. I mean, some of the things that Bill talked about in terms of little things that they look for, in terms of like character, and in terms of just how they carry themselves within the round. And I think this thing about like never giving up and always continuing to fight. I think that segues really naturally into what we talked about in angle of attack with Andrew, which is really like the 74 to 72 shooter. Look, I'm not there yet, but in any case, like what happens when the ball striking and the ball control quite isn't quite there that day, and it really talks about just sort of the escapability, this understanding of how to change trajectory, change shot shape, which is sort of next level, which allows you to still shoot a good score when you don't have your best stuff. And I think those are some of the intangibles, and golf skill stuff that Bill is definitely looking for. So I hope people get a lot out of this episode. There's a lot there. If you read in between the lines and you take Bill for his word in terms of what he's looking for in these recruits, obviously coaching a very high level D1 team. And I mean, they're going places like TCU, buy stock in the TCU golf team, because I think just a few years from now, they're going to be a real powerhouse thanks to Bill's leadership. So in any case, this is an awesome episode. I hope people get a lot out of that. So in any case, this is episode 24 with Bill Alcorn. Thanks, Joseph.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, let's see if anybody's on our stream.
What's up, golf fans? What's up, golf friends?
Did I say fans? Fans?
I don't remember.
Oh, it says Jim Colton is live.
Jim Colton is live.
Say fans?
I don't remember.
14 people. Oh, it says Jim Colton is live.
Jim Colton is live.
see what YouTube has to give.
I don't remember.
14 people. Oh, it says Jim Colton. All right, so well, let's just talk about it. If anybody wants to listen, they can listen. So I want to hear about your U.S. Amateur experience. What did you think of the week?
Yeah, I got to reminisce a little bit today, just chatting in the hallway with coworkers and asking how the experience was and how did Luke do. Everyone was anxious to hear. So it was, I know we talked about it on the way home a little bit. If you zoom in, you just want to take back one or two or three shots that that could have sent you through onto match play. But if you zoom out, it was an incredible experience. We've got so much to look forward to and look back on as far as getting better. I think this is going to help the process. Getting practice rounds with 3 of the top 10 amateurs in the world was incredible. Seeing those guys go about their business, I think it's going to change me and Luke for the better going forward. So all in all, it was a good experience. The more we get to play championship courses like that and learn from the conditions and what the course gives you and how you have to plot yourself around. And I mean, it's a fine line between fairways and rough, and just you got to be on your A game 100% to make a long run. So just excited for the opportunity. That was awesome. I mean, I was looking forward to that all year, and I've already got my calendar marked for next year. So can't wait to get back.
Yeah, so you touched on it. I mean, you touched on it. So there was, look, just some insight for folks who may be not aware. So they send out a link, which is like, hey, practice rounds. They send out the tee times, and then the morning after, like, hey, the practice round window is going to open at whatever it was, 10 a.m. And by like 10:02 a.m., the practice rounds essentially fill up. So it's a little bit of just a feeding frenzy to sign up for times. And I think this is good advice for any any golf parent, any junior golf parent, um, be strategic with your practice rounds. Like seek out better players in your practice rounds. And I don't think you really have a whole lot to gain if you're the best player in your practice round group, right?
Agree.
But if there are better players in your group, you can see how they go about their business. I think especially as a younger, someone who's newer on the journey, you can learn a lot from that process.
100%
So
agree.
so you touched on it. I mean, I'll just get into it. Like we played a practice round with Gordon Sargent, who was the number one ranked amateur in the world, and then the second day Jackson Coyven, is number two now, maybe number three, and Jackson Van Paris, I think is number six or number seven.
Yep.
So you got guys who've been there before. Probably between the three of them have been to 15, 16 U.S. amateurs, Walker Cup, et cetera, et
Wow.
cetera. So in any case, a lot to learn from that experience. And I think that you mentioned it, like you as a caddy, just seeing it up front and like just knowing what takeaways there were, what to hit on, et cetera, et cetera. Also, I think it can build confidence because you can sort of hold these guys up on a pedestal, right?
Yep.
But then also you can see, yeah, they're in some ways they are better than me. I need to improve in these areas. But there's other ways where you think like, oh, I'm every bit as good as these guys, especially in certain areas, and that can build confidence and can carry you, down into the future. So I thought that was great. I think I only walked like 9 holes the first day and then 1 hole the second day, but in one instance, I think just the way the golfers sort of carried themselves, being like really sort of true professionals.
Yep.
I think one thing that I noted on one of the golfers just like was very very intentional about their hydration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that
Yeah.
we struggle with like having a junior golfer is like you
Yeah.
get so tied up in the competition in the mix that you sort of sometimes you forget to eat or you forget you're dehydrated, and it's sort of like you realize it only after the fact. It's like, oh, I should probably eat something. That I think by the time you realize you're dehydrated, it's probably a little bit too late. So I think these guys, these top amateurs, they really take nothing, like literally nothing to chance. And I think that's one of the things that I think if you're trying to get to that level, and I think most junior golfers are trying to get to that level, don't be afraid to look at all of these different things. So I thought that was really pretty interesting.
Yeah. I want to add to that same player too. I don't know if you were standing there, but he had just like a regular 15-footer, maybe just a little bit of 2 feet left to right break, and it completely fooled him. And he had the self awareness to just kind of look at the putt and be like, "Wow, I didn't see that," and then kind of took the putt back, went through his routine again, and hit it again and missed it. And was like, "Man, I still don't see that." And but just to have that self awareness to admit that you're wrong and to look at it from a different perspective. I mean, him and his caddy were kind of befuddled and went over the book a little bit and kind of went back to the drawing board, and just to have that self awareness of, hey, maybe I'm not the best. I'm not going to make every putt. I'm not going to read every putt right, but I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm picking up on everything and I'm prepared and going about my business as if it's this is the putt to win the USAM, but even though it's a practice round. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool to see.
So what? Any takeaways on Hazeltine as far as the golf course?
Yeah, it was a fantastic setup. I would say if you were comparing it to the U.S. Junior at Oakland Hills, I think the rough was actually a little bit more. I don't know if fair is the right word, but it seemed like the grass was a little bit thinner. Maybe it wasn't as lush and as thick. So I thought it was fair, but a great test. USGA likes firm and fast, and you have to be able to hit fairways. It was, the par fives always get talked about as being very long, but um, with the wind direction being the right way, and as far as these guys hit it nowadays, it's a 630-yard par five is manageable. I mean, we saw Henry Guan eagle number 7, kind of one of the shorter par fives, so you can get rewarded for hitting good shots, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I think uh, it was a great test. the more you play it, I think the more you appreciate it, and the more you can see um, maybe strategically where you should and shouldn't miss. So yeah, it was a great golf course.
I think you mentioned Henry. I think one of the fun things about the USAM is seeing how the juniors do and fare, and also like we root for them to do well, right? So I think
Yeah,
Henry was in a marathon match in the first round. Um, 25 was it 25 holes
I think so. Yeah.
with Garrett Engel. You want you want to mention Garrett Engel real quick?
See the grip?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
said
Okay.
you and Andrew said you saw him right on the driving range,
Well,
right?
yeah, we were at Chaska, I think, one of the practice round days, and Andrew kind of tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, "Look over there," and I'm like, "What? I don't see anything." And he's like, "No, look." I was like, "What are you talking about, Andrew?" He's like, "Look at that grip," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I see it now. That is a wild grip, and I think Brittany Romine did a little bit on it too. Of he nicknamed him the grip, but it's incredible to see something like that. I mean, that's just golf, right? It's what he learned, how he learned how to do it, and it works for him. And it's kind of funny to see, but I mean, we all have everyone that we play with has some sort of weird idiosyncrasy or weird little thing that they do that. I mean, no two golfers are alike. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a great game. So
Yeah, you just got to get the ball in the hole, right?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The golf ball
So
don't care.
so anyway, so Henry, shout out to him for making match play. I also want to shout out Tyler Mawhinney, also another class of
Yeah.
2026, another U.S. National Development Team member. I think folks may have followed this. He advanced, I think, further than any junior in the U.S. Amateur. But
Yeah, he's been playing great lately.
if you backtrack, he wasn't in the U.S. Amateur field. He only got in the U.S. Amateur field because he won the Canadian Men's Amateur just like 10 days prior. And he wasn't even in the Canadian Men's Amateur field until the very last minute. He got in,
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think because another one of the National Development Team members was a late scratch. So Tyler took his spot, ended up shooting whatever 15, 16 under in that tournament, won, got him the exemption into the U.S. Amateur, and then made it to the round of 16. So that was really it's really cool to see like someone taking advantage of this opportunity, and hopefully we'll see that springboard a ton of success for him going forward.
Yeah, what a heater he was on. And I think he defeated, was it McCullough? The guy that, did he win it in 2023, the Canadian
Yeah.
Open? Yeah,
Yeah.
we were paired with him on our playoff hole. Uh, Kid is good. He made a run too. Uh, so,
All right,
Yeah.
one last thing is maybe this is a little bit painful. What's it like being in a 14 for 11 playoff?
oh man, that was, whew. You don't want to be that guy, or you don't want to be that player that gets knocked out because you feel like going into it, your odds are so good. I mean, there was 4 groups, so just think about that. You've got a lot of chances, and we should have known going in it wasn't going to be finished on the first hole. We should have, prepped a little more probably for the next hole. But yeah, it was painful. You gotta. I mean, that was the theme of the week. You got to make pars at Hazeltine at the USAM, and we couldn't get it done. So credit to the guys that did. There was a lot of pressure. I think that was the most amount of fans that I've had around me when I've caddied for Luke. So that was something we've never dealt with before, but in a good way. I think it's gonna
Yeah,
it's gonna help us get better. I mean, didn't get the result we wanted, but like we say, pressure is a privilege, and I think we'd give anything to be back in that moment right now and
yeah, for sure.
have another shot.
And I think the one thing that's interesting is of the 11 guys that made it through, seven of them won their first round match. So
Yeah,
I think that's sort of that pressure cooker of making it through the playoff. I think gives you that confidence, even as a low seed. I mean, those guys were playing. Every player that they faced was shot 5 under or better in the stroke play portion, and a lot of those guys. And Ethan Fang made a really deep
Yeah.
run, so it was cool to
I
see.
kept hearing that the 64th seed has never won a USAM, but I think it's just a matter of time before that happens. I think Ethan could have easily won it, and those guys are just as good. You just got to make it to
Yeah.
match play.
Wow, it was great being in Minnesota. It was 80 degrees. It's 107 here.
Yeah, record
in
high today.
Texas. They announced the 2028 U.S. Amateur is going to be at Whistling
Yeah.
Straits, so Wisconsin. Just circle that one on your calendar. Next year it's at Olympic Club. Yeah, but these USGA events, they're just awesome, and like since probably nobody is listening to this, and it's never going to make its way into a podcast, I will say I was deeply moved at registration at the USGA event this year.
Yeah, that's a cool place to be, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you realize sort of the weight of the event, and I've sort of like, to be honest with you, I've just sort of like just trying to soak it all in, this journey that we're on, and just not taking any of it for granted, and just being super appreciative of this opportunity. It's just somebody who's played golf and loves golf deeply, to have someone that's close to me like be able to even be in and around this event has been really really cool. So I think I was actually like sitting at the table like crying, which is kind of weird, but it was just a deeply, the more I thought about it, the more emotional I got. So and I couldn't stop thinking about it, and so I just got more and more emotional. So it's just awesome. Like these things, there are a lot of great tournaments around the country, both junior and amateur. There's really only one U.S. Open or one U.S. Amateur, one U.S. Junior. Those just mean more. And it was just knowing everything that went into it just to get there, the qualifying and barely making it through qualifying, and sharing that and being there for that moment, and then also just everything you go through with registration, just signing the stuff and getting your picture taken, and the swag and all that stuff. It just means so much, and it was just really cool being there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, well, I think we'll wrap this up. I do want to give one shout out to the 23 people that are listening. Check out Franklin the Musical. I know you listened to
here's
it.
a plug.
I know you listened to it like 10 times in the car.
Yeah.
It was our soundtrack for the week at Hazeltine. So I encourage folks to check that out. I wrote a musical. So move over Hamilton. Ben Franklin's taken over. So anyways, one quick plug on that.
That's awesome.
All right, Joseph. Appreciate the time, and I hope everybody
Thanks,
gets
Joe.
a lot out of this episode. And we'll see you guys soon.
Looking forward to it. See ya.
All right,